Councilman District D candidate Kevin Griffin Clark, Christ follower, public servant, youth activist, media specialist, and entrepreneur. Appreciate you for pulling up and josting me.
Thank you, very appreciate it.
You already know. So, starting off, how did you get into politics? Well, first, you're a Councilman District D candidate. So tell us exactly what that is.
So in each city, Louisiana's a little different. Some people out of town call them councilmen, some call them aldermen. But of course, here in New Orleans, we have councilmen and women. The council is comprised of 7 different council people. So we have 2 at large that share the responsibility of president and vice president each year. They flip-flop each year as president and vice president, but those are citywide. And then we have 5 councilmatic districts, which are A, B, C, D, and E. I'm going for D, which is comprised of mostly, D has every bit, there's a piece, if not the whole of every downtown ward. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, also a little bit of New Orleans East. So that's kind of the main councilmatic district.
Okay, and what does a councilman do?
The councilmen and women deal with a lot of, so council persons deal with a lot of stuff. So one, budgeting, we deal with zoning, a lot of allocation of funds. We also control energy and different things like that. So those type of stuff. So a lot of contracts that come through the city for like permitting and construction and stuff like that. We deal with that as well. Not so much the larger permit side of it, but like when you want to come into like the engineering side of it and you want to build a building downtown, you have to come before the council and kind of show us your specs, and your engineers have to speak to us and things like that to make sure it's a proper fit. Historic stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that the council deals with. But I usually tell people we're the legislative branch of the city of New Orleans.
Okay, and your slogan is accountability is not an attack.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you?
Making sure that we hold people accountable. Accountability is not an attack. It means simple as that, but it also is to be more simplistic about it. Is that I'm not trying to berate you. I'm not trying to harm you by making sure you do your job. I'm a business person. I'm a business owner. I have employees, so I'm a boss. But I'm not a micromanager boss. I make sure if I have if my employees or people who work with me have an assignment, I check in every now and again to see where we are, to see if they need help, things like that. So when I'm holding you accountable, it doesn't mean I'm trying to harm you or embarrass you. I'm just making sure you do your job, and that's all that means.
Okay, so let's talk about your upbringing. Tell us like where you from at around the city and stuff like that.
I'm from the St. Bernard Project. That's my upbringing. Is where I grew up at. 3815 Duplessis, 3820 Gibson. I always forget our 4th Street address. But yeah, that's where I come from. Born and bred there. Majority of my life, we moved. When I came home from juvenile incarceration, spent a little time across the canal. Ironically, where my dad's side is from. But even though we lived across the canal at my later years, my later teen years, I was in the project every day. So that's where I'm from. I now currently live in Gentilly with my wife and 3 children.
So, and the St. Bernard will be like, that's the same district?
Yeah.
Okay. So how does it feel like running for a district that you have so much like emotional ties to?
Man, it's a lot, man. It's something that I think of every day because it's now Columbia Park, but I pass there almost every day, man. I also have some friends that live in Columbia Park. My mom still lives right outside of it too. So that's, I get to see it. And so I think it's, it's all God, man. It's like serendipitous where it's almost, that full circle effect. You come up in the slums and the heartache of it, but then now you can be a part of the change that it needs. And now you go from that to be a little biblical where Joseph was put in jail and now he's king. You know what I'm saying? Not to say I'm a king or anything like that, but I'm, to be elevated. I think, God see fit, man. That would be a awesome situation.
Facts. So you speak a lot about being an entrepreneur. You have several businesses, right?
Yes.
Like Studio B is Buku Media / printing, and you do NOLA pens, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so talk about like going away from your everyday entrepreneurship and going into politics. Like how is that? How is that basically?
It's an interesting thing, man. I love both sides of it because I've been in politics for a very long time, but I love the people, so being a boss and having Buku Media and having no lapel pants, which is my everyday thing, and then going into politics is very similar because you have to manage people, you got to manage money, you got to manage your time. But of course, one is a little bit more fulfilling than the other. And it's just kind of one of those things that they both keep you on your toes though, so that's kind of the feeling inside of it. I love both of them though.
What made you get into politics?
So I first started off in politics as like a young kid. I would be the sign guy. So we would be in a U-Haul or a van, and 2 or 3 a.m. the day of an election, we go out and put signs out for our candidates. Different candidates will pay us to put out their signs around the polling places, around busy intersections and things like that. And we jump up out the van. We might be in a U-Haul with about 1,000 signs. All types of signs too. Some 4x8s, 2x8s, 3x6s, 18x24s, and we lighten up the area to let people know this is the candidate that you want. So that's how I first started in politics. And then from there, I went to being a supervisor for the signs. Like, I'm the one driving, I'm the one putting routes out for the sign guys. And then I went from there to kind of consulting because I'm a young person. I was younger at the time, so I knew what the 18 to 24, 25-year-old wanted when it came down to politics. So got into that with them, and then I started running political campaigns. My last campaign that I ran was for Dr. Ashanta Wyatt, for Bessie Board here, for I'm saying Bessie Board like it doesn't have board in it, for the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education. We were unsuccessful yet. We made a lot of leeway into the education world, and especially in the rural areas, in the different districts. So that's kind of my role into politics and how I got into it. Now I'm a candidate.
And you mentioned you previously ran for, it was the school board District 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I always tell people when they say I previously ran, I didn't even get a chance to get out of the starting block, let alone run.
What you mean?
So I qualified, but I didn't get a chance to actually run the race because I got disqualified. And so what happens is you go to qualify. So you sign all your documents saying you're getting into the race. Now, after in all these parishes, it's different in every city, state, and municipality, but in all these parishes in Louisiana, you have 7 days to challenge someone's candidacy. So someone challenged my candidacy on a technicality with my taxes. I was under the assumption that because I didn't have to pay federal taxes for these few years, I also didn't have to pay state, which I fought it all the way up through the course, but it wound up being a technicality that I was wrong in my assumption. And one of the things that I tell people is, as much as they attack me, I don't give a damn about them attacking me. I allowed myself because I didn't do the proper research in the beginning. And I should have known that, being such a vet in politics. That's the game that they play. They get you out of the race early so they don't have to compete with you. And so with me running, it was one of those things so where they usually, when they challenge you, they usually challenge you either on taxes, residency, or domicile. And they wound up getting me on taxes, so that was kind of high win. It was within the first couple of weeks, so I didn't even get a chance to really run. I didn't even order no signs or nothing like that. So
Okay. All right. So explain like what would someone who lives in District D what would they be getting in a councilman if they vote for you?
What you'll be getting in a councilman for District D is a proven fighter every day. Not all day because I do have a family. Let me be very realistic about that. My office hours are not 24/7. A lot of people will tell you, "Oh, I'm gonna be available 24/7." I will not. I'm gonna be available a lot for my people, but I have a family as well. And in order to be a great council person, I have to start off being a great husband and a great father to my children. So let's just say that. But you will have someone that day in and day out that will fight for the needs of its people, that will fight for the needs of its district and its surrounding areas. Because if we don't have the proper things surrounding us, we don't have the proper things for our district. And so again, you will have a proven fighter and a proven leader who has been doing the work of the people for a very long time. I didn't just decide to get into this race because I needed a job or because I wanted something different to do. I wanted a political aspiration. This is a job, yes. However, it's not a situation that you just go into lightly. I kind of struggled with even running for it prior to qualifying because I knew the games that would be played politically. But just going back to what the people will get, they will get someone who understands the struggle, who understands all sides of this coin. When it comes down to being a renter, when it comes down to being a homeowner, when it comes down to being a worker 9 to 5, when it comes down to being an entrepreneur. Again, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a minister. So from the religious side of things, no matter whatever your religious beliefs is, that's your belief and that's fine. I respect those things. That's the person you will get. And my resume is not padded. My resume is not outdated. It's very current because I'm constantly every day doing the work of the people. And that's who you've had, but that's who you will get even more as a council person.
So what's looking at your agenda? What's some of the things you hope to accomplish if elected?
One of the first things I hope to accomplish is making sure that the workers for the city have a livable wage, and not just a minimum wage. Because words have power. So when you're dealing with the words minimum, it's the absolute thing that someone has to give you. It's almost like some slave wage type stuff. So we need to deal with a livable wage, and that thing needs to fluctuate depending on how the market is and stuff. So that's one. Two, dealing with our young people. And I don't want to associate crime with our youth. However, one of the surefire ways to deter crime is to make sure that our young people have a proper education and that they also have some money in their pocket, to make sure their families are properly educated and that their families, their parents, and their guardians are well taken care of financially. So you don't have to go out and do anything crazy if you're taken care of. So that whether that's dealing with our recreation department and also restructuring our recreation department to bringing in more modern tools and designs when it comes down to esports and to STEM and art programs that are more modern to today's time and not the olden days of just football, basketball, and physical sports, but more mental sports as well, and some different type of sports that our young people can be involved in, and also more literacy programming around our libraries, as well as some of those same things that we're dealing with our recreation department, where they can intersect with our local libraries as well. Also dealing with the infrastructure. When we come down, as I said earlier, a lot of our streets are messed up and jacked up. And one of the ways you deal with that is making sure that we're not paying contractors on all these jobs and they're not doing the work. Everyone who is a contractor with the city of New Orleans should be under the same, should have the same viewpoint, and also should be accountable and held accountable to the same level of professionalism. So we're not just leaving things undone for months for our citizens to deal with. It's one of the reasons why our insurance in the state and in the city is so high within the city of Orleans, because what you pay in Orleans versus what you pay in Jefferson Parish is two totally different prices of insurance, because our streets are in a disarray. Also making sure that our utilities are regulated properly, our sewage and water board, our cable and our electric, making sure that they are properly regulated to where our people aren't paying tens and thousands of dollars just on the basic necessities, which is now taken away from the other money that they need to spend on their everyday living. And another one of those things is also economic development, bringing in more jobs, and when I say more jobs, also helping our entrepreneurs. A lot of times when we talk about job, we only really talk about employee-based jobs, but helping people start businesses, helping redevelop some of these dilapidated and blighted areas to be incubators for entrepreneurs that have side hustles, also that have full hustles. These are the type of programs and programming that we want to bring to the city. And when I say we, I mean me, my team, and also the community that I talk to every day.
Okay, so as of February 2020, and you posted this on your Instagram, there are 4,766 white kids in New Orleans public schools and 38,881 black kids. 65% of those white kids attend selective schools, while 7% of black kids attend selective schools. What can we do to change this?
One of the things, as I said before, when it comes down to education, I'm gonna give you the political answer, and I'm gonna give you Kevin's answer. So as the council, we don't deal directly with education. However, I'm an education advocate, so I can tell you as Kevin, as the council person for District D, I would directly deal with education. I understand those stats when I posted them, but those stats are alarming on so many levels. Holding whoever is our new superintendent accountable. You're gonna hear me say that word all the time, accountability. And accountability starts with me. So that's one. But two, making sure that whoever this new superintendent is going to be understands the lay of the land. Hopefully that superintendent comes from our city, and it's someone who's been here, and I want to be a part of that process as well. Whether I'm directly involved in it or I'm holding a flashlight to the process. So that's one. Two, making sure that all these charter schools that we have, all these parishes 100% charters, that when we talk about our open enrollment, that they are true open enrollment schools, and helping our legislative brothers and sisters that are there, our congressmen and senators and state reps, making sure that we can abolish this one app system, because it is even our attorney general has told us that this system is basically being used backwards, where it's supposed to be to where children who are in impoverished neighborhoods are supposed to be getting into the better schools, but yet we're letting everyone from the elite neighborhoods and better educated systems come in and go into the better schools, and yet our children are being bused from one part of the city to another part, passing up either better or sometimes failing school. You're passing an F school to go to an F school across the river. And that doesn't make any sense. So yeah, we don't directly deal with education as a board. However, as your councilman, I will be directly dealing with education, because these schools are in my district and I need to know what's going on, and we need to be sharing this information. If you are a good school, if you are an A school, then cool. Let's see if you can help this C school become an A school. And that way we can have not just a district, but a city that has a better educated class of people.
Is it normal for a city to have 100% charter?
It is not normal. We are the only city in the country that has 100%, all of our public schools are 100% charter. And let me explain this. The word charter is not a bad word. We have just polluted it by taking it and not doing what it was probably used for. My pastor always says, if you don't understand the value of a thing, you will abuse it. He uses this example all the time. if I want to put a nail in the wall, I can use this cell phone and I can beat that nail into the wall and it will get the job done. But I will lose my cell phone. So now I've accomplished one thing by destroying another thing. When there is a proper tool made to put that nail in the wall and to make sure I have a cell phone. So when it comes down to our education system, we have convoluted and have polluted the word charter and what a charter is actually supposed to be and made it into a money pit, and we have destroyed tens of thousands of children and future generations just to make a profit. And so again, if you don't understand the value of a thing, you will abuse it. And we don't understand the value of a proper education inside of these children, you will abuse it. And the funny thing is about the people who are over these schools, they understand proper education because their children go to some of the best schools. But yet, our kids are being treated as second-class citizens in their own home. And so that's what we are.
Okay, so this past election, you were very supportive of Gary Chambers for Congress. What made you gravitate towards him and ultimately endorse him?
Man, so yes, this past cycle, I was a part of Gary Chambers' team. That's my brother, man, and it's crazy how within just a few months we become so close. We speak or we communicate weekly, sometimes daily throughout the week, depending on what's going on. He was a breath of fresh air, man. We had people here in this race, especially the top local ones. They just didn't cut it, man. I had been seeing the work that they had done and the work that went undone under them. And, some people say, oh, this is not personal. I'll agree to disagree because some of this is personal. A lot of it is personal because you're dealing with people and you're dealing with people's lives. So when you don't do your job properly, or you're taking dirty money and you're even if you're not taking dirty money, if you're like using a blind eye to look at the ineffectiveness that people have in the blight and the foolishness that people are going through just to appease another person or another people, then your will for ignorance does not absolve you from doing dirt. It's just like being in a you're in a car where your partner about to do a drive-by. You are guilty as well because you could have either got out of the car or diverted your partner in some type of way. But for you to sit back and do nothing, you're guilty of the murder as well. And so just to go back, we had friends that's crazy when people ask me about Gary. I have a friend that I grew up with that lives in Baton Rouge that knows Gary. And he's not like personal friends with him, but when he sees him, he always tells me I need to hook up with Gary. He had been telling me this for years. And then Gary has a friend that lives here that tells him the same thing. And it was during the race where we finally connected. And in the beginning, I wasn't too sure on homie. Like, that's why it took some weeks for me to even meet up with him face to face. Because I'm like, all right, you're from Baton Rouge, you're going to be representing my district because the 2nd Congressional District, a lot of it is Orleans Parish. So you're not just going to be representing the 2nd Congressional District, you're going to be representing my city for the most part. So I'm like, all right, who are you, what you about? Did some research on them, and then finally I met him. And man, just how God set it up, man. Like, we are very similar. We thick guys, we big dudes. We talk the same way. We both ministers. We both like to laugh and have fun. And, we're both entrepreneurs. We're fathers. So there's a lot of similarities that I understood. He was a fighter prior to the Connie interview. This man was out on the streets fighting, for our people, literally and figuratively, and sadly against some of our own people, which sometimes we have to do. But that was one of those things that made me gravitate to him, and to understand. And then I got to watch him daily run this race. And it's only so much faking you can do. You know what I'm saying? After a while, you're gonna let your guard down,
Mm-hmm.
and that facade gon' shed. And he's never been that way. You know what I'm saying? Certain people have opinions about him, and that's theirs, and that's fine. But I consider him a brother, man. That's what made me gravitate to his candidacy.
So what can you take from that election and that candidacy and use for your own benefit for yours?
One, use every bit of time you have to get your message out, and let people know what's going on, good, bad, and ugly. Also, understand that you got to do the work. You know what I'm saying? Which we did. Also realizing that money is a motivator and you need resources. That's why I tell people all the time, like, I'm not begging, but I'm simply asking, like, donate. We believe in these grassroots candidates, and they talk like we do and speak how we do and walk like we do, but we don't get behind them because that on the other side, they putting real money behind my competition to make sure I'm not successful in this race. And yet we got to do the same thing, but we don't. And that was one of the major reasons he always see, if he had another 100,000 or another week, we'd have made the runoff. But it was a special election, so it was a little different. But that was a few of the things that I learned from him.
So during the pandemic, at the beginning of it, 2020, you were very active promoting social distances, doing rallies, food drives, and teaching about relief grants for small business. What was the effect of COVID-19 on small businesses in your district?
Man, the effect of small business, man, one of my favorite restaurants closed down, Sassafras. Small black-owned business, black-owned restaurant that I frequented probably twice a week. You know what I'm saying? If at least now, at minimum once a week. And I got to see a few of the businesses in the district and in the area closed. However, I also got to see some entrepreneurship inside of the district. Certain people started to pivot. Certain people, while they were home from their regular 9 to 5, built up an entrepreneurial spirit. You know what I'm saying? And come in. And so I believe in every season, you're going to have those highs and lows. You know what I'm saying? The pendulum going to swing both ways. And so I believe with my candidacy, because we got to pivot and no one was fired from either of the businesses. You know what I'm saying? Everyone was able to maintain their jobs and keep growing. And we were also able to meet a need. So that was cool too. But I think with my candidacy, which showed me being an advocate on that end, to show me that you can actually do this. Imagine outside of the pandemic. If we put these resources into people outside of a famine or outside of destruction and calamity, what we could do in showing entrepreneurs and business owners the things that they can do outside of an emergency.
So what were some of your inspirations for being one of the vocalists behind the rallies and the marches in the city for equality last year?
Man, let me tell you something. God ultimately, because although I'm not the greatest public speaker and I don't, as much as people see me, I'm not a forefront person. I'm a slight introvert, not all the way. My wife would tell you I'm lying when I say I'm a slight introvert because I'm out with the people more than anything. But it's not a lot of times where I want to be, but it's where I'm called to be. And when I say not where I want to be, it's not that I'm begrudging that I'm there. Because I understand the mantle that I have, I understand the microphone that I have, I understand the calling that God has given me. So I'm there, and I'm happy that I'm there. However, if you didn't have to fight, you wouldn't. Most people are lying to you when they say they want to go out there and have to deal with that type of fighting. Because in a few ways, one, you're fighting a system that's bigger than you. Two, and especially in a city like ours, I'm fighting against sometimes my own people. In multiple ways. One, I'm fighting against ignorance, where people don't know, and I'm having to do more educating than advocating. And then also, some of the people who are in position, they look like us. And they're getting their money behind the scenes to deprive their people of something. And so that's a fight. No one really wants to do that fight, but I believe God put me in that position for a reason. And that was just one of those things. It was either me or who else, and I couldn't sit around and wait for anyone else to get up to do the work for me. Because ultimately I'm fighting for other people, but I'm also fighting for my community. I'm also fighting for me and my family. So as a man, I can't wait for nobody else to give me no handout to do good. I gotta get up on my own and make it happen.
And you also like, you're very vocal with the firefighter wages and stuff like that. You went to the council meeting, right, for the firefighters.
Yeah.
Explain what you talk about in those meetings.
One of the things that we talk about, a rookie fireman makes $11.65 an hour. And one, that's deplorable and despicable. For the people who basically a lot of times hold our lives in their hands when they come on the scenes. Our firemen and women are usually the first line of defense out of the first responders. So when it comes down to EMS or anything like that, our firemen and women are usually the first ones there because there are more firehouses inside of our neighborhoods than there are EMS cars and trucks and spots and police office districts. Most in my neighborhood alone, within a 3-mile radius, I can count 3 firehouses. I can only count 1 police district, and no EMS districts in my area. All of them are mid-city, and they have to come from wherever they are to get to me, and then bring me back to a hospital. If I'm choking and they call 911, 3 fire trucks can pull up to my house within minutes. You see what I'm saying? And yet these people are paid pennies, essentially. And that's a huge thing. It's like, who do you want fighting? If a fire comes up, who do you want fighting? A council person or a fireman who's trained to do their work? I don't think you want me showing up, with a small fire extinguisher versus someone with a real truck that can do some real work. And, we pat our heroes on the back every day, but we pay them like peasants. Mm-hmm. And that's not right.
Now, this has been something that as long as I've been watching the news, I know as far as like my senior year, which would be like 10 years now. So as long as I've been,
me next year.
Yeah, as long as I've been watching the news, it's been like the firefighter problem it's been a real problem to the point where they was talking about going on strike. I'm not sure if they did, but
they didn't.
Yeah,
and they probably won't.
Yeah, because in reality, they're heroes. So you know what I'm saying? You don't want to do that. But what can we do to reallocate more money to pay for them? Because on the live, you spoke about us having like a surplus of money for police, and the firefighters, they don't get paid enough. So I kind of feel like that, like it's kind of like a self-explanatory solution. But what do you think?
So it's not just a surplus of money for police. I like to be very specific with how I say this. So when I say that, when I talk about that 63% of the budget is for policing and jailing and all of the so basically the criminal justice department, so which police are involved in. But I think also reallocating funds from some of that. Well, we don't need to build a bigger jail. We don't even fill up the jail that we have now. So taking some of those resources and allocating them towards fire and EMS and bumping their wages up. We allocate money right now for 1,600 police officers, yet we only have 1,000 or 1,100 on duty. Taking some of that money and giving it to the firemen where we don't even have enough firemen and women. So giving them, all of them should be minimum, again, $15 an hour. Even though even for those professionals, that's not enough. How much do you pay a hero? There's no real amount you can put on it, but salary-wise, we have to. In Orleans Parish, they go to about 3 times the amount of calls as Jefferson Parish does. And the reason they go to 3 times the amount is because they deal with more than just fires. They deal with car accidents, they deal with EMS, and they deal with spills and all this type of stuff. When in Jefferson Parish, mainly they deal with fires and car accidents. They don't have to do any EMS rollouts. And they may, but it's not a requirement for them. With our firemen and women, it's a requirement. You know, so when you talk about, and then it's funny because they do 3 times the amount of rollouts than a JP, but yet JP makes 2 and 3 times the amount of money that all these pairs makes. It doesn't make any sense. How am I paid 3 times the amount for a third of the work that you do?
Mm-hmm.
You're not going, that's not real equity.
And it just doesn't, like, it gives nobody a reason to come to work. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not motivated to go to work knowing that you could get paid more at Popeyes. Like, that's not a motivation.
It's one of the main reasons why a lot of people aren't coming to work now. Like, this pandemic, and I would constantly say this pandemic has exposed all of the inequities in our country. And it's like, so you mean to tell me I could have been doing this work from home? So I've sacrificed being at home with my family and my mental health to be at an office for 8, 9, and 10 hours, some 12, punching a clock in front of when I could have been just doing this work at the house, and I'm getting paid pennies, like, cause I gotta commute and I gotta dress and I gotta do all this, and I gotta drop my baby off here and I gotta do all this for what? So it's like people are taking over themselves now. Like they're realizing their health is more important than anything, and that their lives are more important than anything, and they putting a stand to it. Like they be putting their foot down, and I commend them for that.
And not just that, like a lot of people now, you get paid more in in unemployment than you do at a job. You know what I'm saying? So why go back to work? Like that only exposes the fact that it's crazy that you get paid more sitting at home than you do at the job that you qualify to do. So all that goes back into it.
We talk that stuff about the money we have. They found that money. The federal government found that money real quick.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Talk. You know, whether it was PPP, EIDL, unemployment, they found them trillions of dollars real quick.
Real talk. So I have a question. This doesn't pertain to your district, but it's something I've always thought about. And it goes back to what you said earlier about the EMS not being around your house and stuff like that. Do you think it'll be wise to build more trauma centers like around the city as opposed to just that one in the middle of the city?
Oh, very much so. You know, I understand the centralizing of things, but we also need smaller ports. Even if we're working with building onto our firehouses, you know what I'm saying? Like having a unit, and sometimes they do that already. Some of the EMS men and women, they hang out at the firehouses because that's the area that they're patrolled to anyway. So they may hang on if they're in the 3rd district, they may hang at the firehouse on Franklin. You know what I'm saying? They may hang at the one on Paris Avenue because they got some friends there. And 9 times out of 10, they're rolling out on the same call anyway. So it just makes it a easier situation. But yet they're not comfortable there because that place is set up for the firemen and women. It's not set up for EMS too.
And not just that, like when I say trauma unit in specific, dealing with like gunshot wounds and stuff like that. Like, you know, you can only get treated at university. You can't get treated, like, what if I get shot on the West Bank? You know what I'm saying? I have to go, what if I get shot at West Legal? I gotta go to university when you passing up 2 and 3 hospitals.
That's something when it comes down to medical care that all of our centers should be equipped with some level of trauma, you know, on the same level. You know, I've actually heard people say, if I get shot, don't send me to this hospital, don't send me to that hospital. And as much as it's a light joke, it's seriousness inside of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's a medical situation that we have to deal with on so many levels. You know, that's across the country and across the board.
So how do you plan on getting millennials to vote for you this upcoming election?
I think one of the ways is just going to them directly and telling them things like this podcast, jokes. Like, it's when I met you a few weeks ago, I started tuning in immediately because my nephew, you know, the Iceberg, he was like, oh, you need to tap in with them. And I was like, all right, cool. Let me see what's up. And I was like, okay, I like what's going on because I speak some of the real, you know what I'm saying, all the time. So this is, you know, nothing to me to do. But one, like I said, dealing with podcasts like this, also going out directly where they are, seeing the needs and implementing that into the platform. And also, again, putting the charge on them. Hold me accountable. You say you don't trust politicians? Well, how can I get you to trust a politician? And stand on that. Get them to understand that the power is in their hands. You dig what I'm saying? And it's like, look, let me show you how you can start trusting. And I'm going to do the work first. Because that's the thing, when you asking someone for something, you have to come in with respect. They're not asking me for anything. I'm asking them for their vote. So it's like, okay, what can I do to earn your trust and your vote? This is a relationship. And so what do I need to do to make sure that happens? And what happens if I don't do it? You dig what I'm saying? Making sure I'm held accountable. So when I talk about accountability is not an attack, it starts with me. So I need to walk you through this process, but I also need to keep you in contact with me to make sure you are an accountability partner. And so that's what I'm going to do that's different than what I've been doing, than what other politicians have been doing for the past 20, 30 years. Yeah, you can take pictures with people and go do talks and all that, but it shouldn't end there. They shouldn't stop seeing you there. They should have my phone number to contact me about a thing, and what they don't understand, I should be able to give them resources to it. That's how I'm getting young people, you know what I'm saying, not just by speaking the way they speak and trying to be down and all that, you know what I'm saying, and act like them. No, I'm a 36-year-old grown man that has a wife and 3 kids. So it's a little different, but I'm from New Orleans. I'm from the hood. I'm from the project. So there is that dynamic where I understand where they are. I was their age at one time. You know what I'm saying? Which I think I still technically am a millennial, but I'm on the older side of it. But, you know, versus the younger, the 18 to 25-year-old, like, no, I don't understand everything you're going through because I don't listen to your music. I don't, your fashion a little different than mine and all that. But yet our commonality is that struggle. You know what I'm saying? Whether I live in Gentilly or you live in the Goose, you know what I'm saying? It's a little different. You live on Dowman or you know what I'm saying, Delicious. It's the same type situations everywhere. You dig what I'm saying? And so getting them to understand that I get that, and then I'm going to do something about it by making sure they're with me and not just holding them at bay and being ashamed of them and things like that. That's the type of stuff that I want to make sure that millennials understand, because you're going to inherit this mess. So you need to get into it now to make sure that you inherit something good.
Mm-hmm. And if nothing else, what would you like the people who's watching this interview to take from you?
One of the things that I want them to take from this is that I'm a humble servant, but I'm a fighter. I'm going to make sure that when push comes to shove, you have a dog in this fight. You have someone in this fight and in this race and on that council that's going to tell you what's right, even if you don't like it, that's going to fight for you on a daily, even if they don't like it, and someone you can hold accountable, and someone that can make sure that your basic needs are being met, and that can help you on that end. That's who I've always been. It's not who I'm going to become once in office. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
Thanks.
And I've always been active. So I don't have to, a batter don't have to get in my back for me to start back up. This engine ain't never stopped for the past 20-something years. So this is the person that you want in office, not someone who just talk how you talk and BS you, but someone who has a proven track record, who has a resume of this that is constantly evolving, that's not stale and stagnant, and then jump back again. This is who I am.
I appreciate you for pulling up, you know what I'm saying? Good luck in your candidacy for real. I don't live in District D, but you definitely would have had my vote if I lived in District D.
You don't have to live in the district. You know people that live in my district.
Yeah, my sister lived. That's why I brought you in, because you affect her directly. I was texting her throughout the live. I'm telling her, like, you need to watch this. Like, you stay around here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Tell her holla at me, man. I would love for her to be a part of the team. Love to tap her in too. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you don't live in the district, but that's the thing. We have someone that lives in all these districts. If you don't live in my district, quick plug, KevinGriffinClark.com. Go to the website. I have 2 effective ways to know if you live in my district. One is a map. So there's an actual map of the district that outlines the entire area. The faster way though is there's a blue link above that map, and it says, do you live in Kevin district? Click on that link, add your address and your birthday in, and if you're a registered voter, it's gonna pop up. Even if you're not a registered voter, it's gonna pop up what district you're in, who are your current candidate, not candidates, who are your current councilmen and mayor and all of your politicians in your area. But you'll find out where you live and get involved with all of these races. You know what I'm saying? We need a new fresh board, and we need to flip this entire board. And so if you don't live in D, you live in C, get involved with what's going on in C, get involved with what's going on in B, get involved with what's going on at large, get involved in your mayoral race. Everything is local when it comes down, especially when it comes down to politics. Local politics control the majority of your life. And so if you don't know if you're in my district, find out. If you not in my district, you can volunteer, you can share our message, you can donate, you know what I'm saying, $5, $10, $25. Like when we go out there, we're not spending this money on lavish, meals and all that. We buying yard signs. We're doing social media push and things like that to get the message out there. Hopefully we're gonna buy some TV and some radio to let people know where we are, and let because we're in this age, especially with social distancing, we're buying flyers and cards so we can go door knocking and things like that. If you want to be involved with this, come. There's one of the better ways to get involved and come grassroots on the ground. Boots on the ground.
All right. Two more questions. First,
Yep.
This isn't like the presidential election, so it won't be as prevalent for people to go sign up for vote and stuff like that. Where can we go register to vote at?
So one of the easier ways to do it is go to your local Secretary of State. You can go online. So in Louisiana, you go to sos.la.gov. So that's sos.la.gov, and on there there's a voting tab. If you want to register to vote, it's super easy. Like so I'm Kevin Griffin Clark, but for the past 30-something years, I was just Kevin Griffin. Clark is my biological father's name, and I was been supposed to add it, but never did. And so I found it in this new chapter. I added it to it. But when I went to go qualify, they weren't going to be able to put Kevin Griffin Clark on there, even though I legally changed my name, because I hadn't legally re-registered to vote or changed my registration. So I had to do it online while I'm sitting in the qualifying office on my phone. And then within a couple of minutes, it was in the system and I was able to qualify as Kevin Griffin Clark. That's how simple it is, bro. It is literally, it will take you less than 2 to 3 minutes to qualify. Also, you can go to the Register of Voters. You can either go to criminal district court. If you don't want to go to criminal district court, you can go to City Hall. Fill out the paperwork. You will be put into the system that day. You will register to vote in your district. There's so many different ways you can do it, but those are the main two easiest ways. The easiest way is online, and then if you want to go fill out a voter registration card, if you just want, maybe want to get out the house for a second and go fill out a registration card, you can do that.
Okay, and when is election day?
So election day is October the 9th. So we have early voting from the 25th of September to October 2nd, with the exception of Sundays. We do not vote on Sundays in Louisiana. And then the main election is October the 9th. But I'm encouraging everyone to go early vote. To early vote here in the city, there's several different places you can go early vote. You can go early vote at the City Hall. At City Hall, there's going to be the register of voters there. If you live in the East, there's a place to go vote out there. I also have all this on my website. If you're on the West Bank, you can go vote at the Algiers Courthouse, or if you're also in the East or in the Samoa Gentile, the voter machine warehouse on Shelf, right across from the Popeyes. So you can go vote in any one of those areas to early vote. So vote by mail. If you can request a mail-in ballot from the registered voters here in New Orleans. If you don't feel comfortable, especially with COVID and things like that, if you don't feel comfortable, do a mail-in, or if you're going to be out of town, do a mail-in ballot.
The point is to just get your vote in.
Get your vote in, man. It counts. It counts for a reason. It wouldn't, if your vote didn't count, they wouldn't be trying to suppress it every day,
right?
Every chance they get. Let me tell you something. They're not suppressing it for nothing, because they know a lot of these young people are not, especially the Republicans, and not just the Republicans. There's a lot of people that are trying to suppress the vote too, but they're holding it because they understand that who holds the power, and these young people do. And this is what we're trying to get done. We're trying to make sure that our people are an informed people, they're voting people, and voting holds power. We wouldn't be out here trying to get your vote if it didn't.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate you, Kev, for pulling up on me. Much luck to you, you know what I'm saying? It's the Joes.
There's love.